We serve customers in a lot of different industries. We've got military direct that has some pretty intense tech and spec sheets. We've got aviation, we've got the FAA, we've got the FDA and medical. There's all sorts of regulatory bodies that we work with. And so what's similar when it comes to quality management with those different industries that you play in, and what might be different at the end of the day? What are some of the slight differences?
Quality's quality, right? We're making products that impact someone's lives. We're making products that we're seeing out there every single day. It doesn't matter if it's a saddlebag for a motorcycle, or if it's an oxygen drop-down mask, or a wearable AED life-saving thing, right? We're impacting someone's life with that. So we just need to make sure quality is top-notch and number one.
Welcome back to another episode of Inspiring Innovation, and we have our guest Tom 𝐶𝐮𝐼 with us today, the reigning quality champion of Monticello, Iowa, and he has, I was sitting on a quarterly business review in which we got 100% on quality recently, and so Tom and the team up there do just an amazing job, and always enjoy popping Tom into customers' meetings like with no notice, and he's on top of all the different specs and issues that we're working through to troubleshoot, something that's going on that came up out of the blue when we're with a customer somewhere. So, Tom, we're really excited to have you on the podcast, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited also.
And I do like to start off with a curveball question that you are not prepared for, but how many tattoos do you have?
Oh.
A, and B, what's your favorite tattoo and why?
Count, I guess. I got 6 right now. I get plans for about 6 more for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I like getting tattoos in different areas. So a lot of mine were on travel. So that's one of the things. Like I've got them from Times Square. I got them from Beale Street. I've gotten them in California and so forth. I don't know. They all got a different meaning. My favorite is probably my feather on my arm. That's probably my favorite. But I get the most compliments on my kids' artwork that's on my arms and stuff like that. So I recently had a buddy pass away from cancer, and my son had drew a picture of him and I together. So I got that one most recently. So that one probably means a lot to me too.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I thought it was more because I knew you got them on travel, and I figured you'd racked them up.
It's hard to just find a walk-in clinic, a lot of these places we go, so that's why it's kind of hard. But I definitely will be getting a lot more too.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done to test a product?
We have done a lot here. We kind of have to go off the cuff a lot. A lot of customers, we get requirements, and it's very hard to get certain things into test labs and so forth on short notice. So I've done everything from, bags that a customer said had pieces falling off of them, and we can't duplicate it in our lab by inflating them with air or anything, and instead we roll them up and put them out in the parking lot and drive over them with a car or something to see if the components fall off. And all of our tests on that one passed, so that's good. We were designing a bag one time that was meant to be like a fire retardant bag. So we bought a bunch of model rocket kits, and we spent 3 or 4 days burning them things up, just making sure that bag will withstand some very high temperatures. We've done packaging requirements testing where, we couldn't get it in the lab, but the customer wanted some results within 3 or 4 days. So we shoved the products in a box and we drove down a gravel road simulating a UPS driver. We kind of do a lot of stuff off the cuff, but my favorite testing is probably we were making ballistic plates for a while. So I had to take ballistic plates out on a routine basis and go out to the shooting range and shoot them with a rifle just to make sure that, our day-to-day production was all right. So they had to kind of twist my arm to go do that. And that was my favorite testing of all. I was sad when that product left. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to try to sell some more of those so you can get back out to the range. That's a unique quality lab. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, try and simulate as much as we can of the customer's requirements,
Can you walk us through what quality means at Polo Custom Products and how it sets us apart in the industry?
Yeah, it's a whole quality picture. We have, quality representatives throughout the whole process, from initial design, even up to, sales conception. When the project starts off, we have a part in that process or that procedure to identify some of the things, raise the concerns. Through project design, we're doing PFMEAs, DFMEAs, and so forth to help identify possible causes before we can go into production. Could it be causes of raw materials, whether it be a supplier, a time frame, or a requirement that's just hard to meet, all the way into we make our first samples. We have a quality representative there doing first article work and also identifying with the operators, hey, what were some of the trials and tribulations you had from there, and making note of that, putting that into the PFMEA, and adjusting our RPN to see if we can get a corrective action or something to mitigate that. So, and then that goes into production. How efficient are we? We're not only analyzing do we have zero defects, but are we also meeting our rates? And that's all goes back to that whole picture of quality, that interaction between production and quality on a daily basis. And then after the fact, analyzing customer satisfaction. It's always great to be in those meetings when you're hearing about what the whole customer satisfaction was. Did you meet your goals for on-time delivery and so forth? So it's that whole picture. And I think we have such a broad array of associates in our quality department here that we're able to have someone in all of those different phases of a project and a product.
Yeah, those are great points. And I know, I know our customers just lean on you guys a lot, and even work through some of the standards of, is that required, or why is this required, and trying to do things that make sense that end up, maybe I'm just thinking of one where we don't have that much scrap testing basically, or, we're proving out some things that end up being cost savings to our customers in the long run. So you guys do a tremendous job in that sense. I know that there was a quality test involving a crane, and like something it had to hold, maybe it was a cargo strap or something that had to hold 10,000 pounds. But so that's not maybe something you do every day in the lab, but what are some of the tools that you all have in the lab in Monty, and that kind of go hand in hand with some of our capabilities up there?
Yeah, so in our lab here, we have multiple different tensile testers. We have a 500-pound range tensile tester and a 300-pound range tensile tester. We also have Sentinels, which are leak detectors for hooking bags up to identify any leaks. Those are some of the more precise equipment we have. Obviously, we have a whole gamut of calipers, micrometers, and calipers, and so forth. But we really like to utilize as much of the customer-supplied type devices, like real-life devices, the real-life devices that we would use. So what is the end component going to be hooked up to? What is the fitment going to be, or whatever? We use that quite a bit, too. So that goes back to that direct interaction with the customer up front. Hey, what's the end use of this going to be? Can we get those devices? Can we do a fit form function test or something or whatever to simulate what we can do? But what you were speaking about was that cargo strap, and that had to pull 18,000 pounds. So we had to outsource that. We had to, because we don't have the capabilities to do that in-house here. And that's a huge machine, like the size of a bus, to do that type of testing. But it was very interesting to go watch that. But we also have very good correlations with a lot of good testing labs in the area. Some of them are within driving distance, and other ones are just a drop ship away. So we never have a delay in that type of testing. We can try and get that stuff out there quite fast, quite frequently. And what's great is they end up using a lot of the test methods we propose. So we'll come up with a method and then send it off to them, and that's what they'll incorporate into the process.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about having quality involved up front in the development work too. Just saying, hey, how is this going to be used? How does this need to be tested? What kind of tools are you using to test it so we can replicate it and bring it in-house? And even like functionality of something where it's like, how much weight does this backpack strap need to hold? Does it, have to be load bearing, and what's the method for that so we don't get field failures essentially? So, our podcast audience is generally buyers, engineers, people developing products. When they are assessing a company like Polo, what should they look for in quality to make sure that the suppliers can deliver on what they're promising?
Yeah, make sure that the quality is engineered into the product. A lot of manufacturing facilities or just in general, a lot of products are inspected at the end, and that's not a good habit to be in. You want to engineer everything up front to be as successful as possible. By putting that upfront interest in, you're going to minimize issues and minimize quality concerns, which is going to drive down cost and get a faster turnaround time. So I would be analyzing how involved is quality up front, and what kind of feedback do you have? What kind of questions are they asking? Anybody can, I feel like, just check the box or go down a drawing. But like you said earlier, asking those questions, asking more in-depth questions, and then asking what you can do to help that process along.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, we serve customers in a lot of different industries. We've got military direct that has some pretty intense tech and spec sheets. We've got aviation, we've got the FAA, we've got the FDA and medical. There's all sorts of regulatory bodies that we work with. And so what's similar when it comes to quality management with those different industries that you play in, and what might be different at the end of the day? What are some of the slight differences?
Yeah, I mean, quality is quality, right? We're making products that impact someone's lives. We're making products that we're seeing out there every single day. It doesn't matter if it's a saddlebag for a motorcycle, or if it's an oxygen drop-down mask, or a wearable AED life-saving thing, right? We're impacting someone's life with that. So we just need to make sure quality is top-notch and number one. We got the same type of standard. It doesn't matter if it comes in an industrial market, or if it comes in the aerospace, or if it comes in the medical. We have the exact same processes we follow. We're going to be just as detailed for a medical product as we will for an industrial product. The end requirements are the same. You want good customer satisfaction, and you want a product that's reliable and durable, and is going to exceed the customer's expectations. So quality is quality. It doesn't matter what market you're in.
Just may have a different person auditing for different things, right?
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest challenges that our customers face when it comes to quality compliance, and how does Polo help overcome those?
Reading regulations, the intricate regulations that are coming out now, and also the regulations that you don't feel are necessary, trying to get them modified. Those are some very hard obstacles to overcome. Knowing the regulations, first of all, knowing what you're looking for, and then deciphering them detailed enough to know what they mean. I mean, I look back on a product we designed one time, and I had to read a 64-page document on how to tape a box, right? Like, there's so much out there that you kind of have to sort through to get the data you need. But you got rapidly changing regulations, and like I said, sometimes the reluctance to update the regulations if you see something that's wrong. That turnaround time can be long and drawn out. I feel most recently it's more, and this is not going to be surprise to anybody, but it's the raw material constraints. We're having to pivot so much because something we had called out in raw materials no longer available, or they don't have the workforce to do it. So we have to qualify a different material, or go through a different process, or write a deviation to use something, with the customer's approval or something. So that's some of the stuff that has been coming up quite frequently. That's made it a little bit more complex or harder to, just jump right in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And some of those are customer controlled materials that, we just have to work with. And we sometimes aren't able to dual source for a variety of reasons, but y'all work really hard to make it come together. So kind of along those lines, how do you collaborate with engineering and production to prevent quality issues before they happen?
Yeah, so like I said before.
But before we get into that, this podcast is brought to you by Polo Custom Products. We are a custom manufacturer that specializes in sewing, sealing, and thermoforming. We work with project engineers, sourcing professionals, and buyers to design, engineer, and manufacture products that cannot afford to fail. If you're interested in working with us, visit our website at www.polocustomproducts.com and fill out a request for quote form. Now, back to the show.
The quality department at Polo is not just the quality department that sits off on the side. We're completely encompassing. We're right there with every step of the product, from launch all the way to, customer satisfaction at the end. And we're providing that feedback So internally here in our Monticello facility, we have a 8 a.m. meeting every day, and that's all the managers that come together from the different departments. So we have product development, which develop the product all the way to, and into procurement, into production, and all the way to warehousing, talking about the issues we're dealing with, talking about, where we at on this order, where we at, what's our deadline, what material are we looking for, and so forth. But obviously through that communication, those meetings, issues come up and they need addressing. So we all take note of them, and then we have corrective action meetings routinely. So we have a corrective action meeting between myself and the engineers on a weekly basis to discuss any issues that we've had in production the last couple of days. And then we also have our meeting on addressing any corrective actions with other departments as well, too. So those are 2 meetings that we have weekly, and then we have the daily meeting. So that's how we keep that communication close knit together. I feel at Polo, one thing we're really good with is that interaction between production and quality. I feel like we have a really good working relationship and a good source of, what are the customer's requirements, not only from quality, but also from on-time delivery. So we can work together to get a good outcome to make sure that both of those are met and upheld with a high amount of satisfaction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen it live. You guys you're always tackling the things of the day and hitting those on-time deliveries and making it easy when I'm in a quarterly business review to celebrate all the victories that you guys are accomplishing on the daily. So what is a misconception about quality that some people have that you'd like to clear up?
A lot of times misconception of quality is we're the bad guys, right? Like we're the guys that say, hey, no more. Hey, no
the
good.
Corrective action enforcers.
Yes, but we're not that way, I with a lot of our operators, sometimes we're looked at as the bad guys because we're doing audits or something, and they don't realize we're monitoring a process. We're not monitoring just themselves. So we're looked at as a bad guys there. So that takes a little while to get that understanding that, hey, we're really here to help you. We're here to make sure that what you're doing is as easy and as successful as possible. And that goes for everybody. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help with that. We're here to monitor. We're here to collect data. We're here to analyze numbers and so forth to make sure that it is as reliable as possible. We don't want to see those deviations. We don't want to see those issues that crop up that causes someone to not be successful. So we work diligently to monitor it and just make sure everybody has the same opportunity to stay successful through all aspects of all of our products, from launch all the way to production, all the way to on-time delivering and so forth. So it's a hard misconception. I've done both sides. I did plant manager type role too for a while, and I see it from both sides. But we're all here to work together, and there's no bad guys here. We're all just trying to make sure everybody, from sales to procurement to the customer, everybody's as successful as possible.
Yeah, well said. And I definitely feel like, if anything, and this kind of segues into the next question here, if anything, y'all provide a whole lot of peace of mind to the customers. And I can think of a couple of examples, but do you mind sharing some ways that you do that and put our customers at ease?
Yeah, good interactions with our customers. That starts up front, from design phase, a lot of interactions with our customers so they know we understand what their requirements are and that we're going to get them down and get them put in the project. But once again, quality here is not just a separate division that sits off on the side. We are there for every step of the process, from inception, from monitoring the processes that, the sales team does from the time they get the opportunity to quote a product all the way until it gets on the warehouse floor ready to ship. And then even then we're still monitoring it. And then we're looking for customer feedback and customer satisfaction after that. So, we're there every step of the way and very intricate in the process. There's everybody on our quality team, I feel, can go out there and very easily, hit the nail on the head with any type of product in the process and where we're at, and help identify issues or help diagnose issues as well, help make things better, faster, more timely, also just a better quality product at the end.
We were with a customer in New York, and Tom, are you available? They're quality guys in here, and we were just, you were able to just collaborate with them to troubleshoot a couple of different ways that we could qualify some dimensions on a product that was fairly hard to measure. We wanted to change some specs basically so that it would make more sense and be be easier to test, and that wasn't an option, but you and the engineer ended up working together on a collaborative solution. And so I love seeing that stuff, and that was on the drop of a pin. You had no forewarning that was coming up, but you knew all the details.
Beauty of Teams nowadays, right? All those types of components that we have on our phones and laptops that were indisposable at any time at a drop of a hat, which that's great. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to make a good product. And even in a circumstance like that, I'm sure we learned something on both ends of, hey, that's something the customer is struggling with. Are we going to struggle with that also? Or we have a solution to that. Let's give it to them and help them out as well too. And then help identify something downstream too that, hey, we may have this issue in the future too. So we need to come up with something. So all those types of episodes are good. You always learn something from them.
How does continuous improvement play a role in Polo's culture?
Yeah, continuous improvement is key. If you're not improving, you're kind of staying stagnant. So it's something we like to focus on a lot. It's a lot. We like to share our activities with everyone. It's hard to document all the continuous improvement that's happening because we're constantly evolving. We're constantly doing things. Within our department, we're constantly training. You talked about specs. There's always new specs coming out. So we're constantly having those training episodes to understand new specs and understand new regulations and what has changed. So we're constantly doing that. We're constantly, meeting internally between, like I said before, between the production associates, production floor, the managers, and so forth to talk about what can we do to improve this. This may be something that the customer's not even going to know about or something, but it's still, we have identified a little drain in our process, whether it be time or a small amount of defects or something. We need to make this better because in the end, the whole product's going to be getting out the door faster and cheaper. So we need to keep on evolving. So we have them. I think we do a lot of continuous improvement around here that goes uncategorized or undocumented, and I think we need to do a better job of that here at Polo, but it's something that is happening on a daily basis between everybody, and I think it's happening so much and so often people are not even noticing it sometimes. It's such a seamless effect of, hey, this was an issue, this is what we're going to do to resolve, we're going to do this, and it gets implemented or changed or whatever, and we're moving on. Like it had happened so often. I think that's just kind of a natural part of the culture here. And also with being a custom manufacturer is, one product is not going to be manufactured the exact same as the other product. So you can't plan on the product B being just like manufactured, just like product A. So you have to be continuously improving or being able to pivot or modify in between those processes to quickly transform for the next product. So I think that's something we do pretty seamless around here.
Yeah, that's great. And touches on the next question too, but can you share an example of a time that we've, enhanced something that ultimately led to savings of time or cost for our customer?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of circumstances like that. We've had times where a customer called out a raw material component or something, and we identified an issue with it. We identified it may have been a concern from our operator that, hey, this feels a little bit different or it looks a little bit different. So we did our research and do our due diligence, and we found out, something had changed in the compound. So we prepared, we reacted to it. We did our investigation to figure out what the customer impact would be. We got a hold of the customer, and, there wasn't an issue at the end. It wasn't going to affect the functionality of it. We've had it before where a customer has called out a material on a drawing, but as we started producing it, our maintenance people or the operators again said, hey, if it was made out of this other material, it'd be a lot easier to get on a fixture or something like that. So we've made those proposals and we moved, changed the design and moved on, and we started getting the product out a lot faster. It's also that going back to that good customer focus, that good relationship with the customer, that if there's issues that we are seeing in the process where we may deem them, or what might be major for one customer, may be a minor for another customer as far as discrepancy or not liking it and so forth. So that communication back and forth with the customer where, like I said, if something you identify for one customer they don't like, another customer may be fine with it because the product is used in a different way or whatever. You can't expect cosmetic standards for like a leather product to be the exact same as a medical bag, but some of that time the thinking from the operators is they do stay the same. So getting that communication back to either the customer or back to the operator and explaining to them the end use of it is going to help us train them and get the products out faster with less rejects.
And how do you balance compliance with speed and getting that on-time delivery? You about it a little bit earlier, but anything about those dynamics that you care to touch on?
Yeah, identifying and understanding the compliance, and then building your product to not have to be tested for the compliance, but to engineer the compliances into the product, or engineering processes that are easily detectable to check for those compliances. So you get compliances from a customer, making sure that procurement has the raw materials set up correctly so that it's easily identified in a COC every time we get the raw materials that the product or the raw material was supplied correctly. What kind of testing do we need to do? How often are we going to do that testing? We're not going to do it at the end, or we're going to do it in the middle, or we're going to do it earlier, or whatever. All those things are engineered in, and then you have to plan ahead for the time it's going to take to make sure that all those compliances are met. Understanding them, reading through them, and then negotiating them too. Sometimes you may have, if it's not like a government standard or something, we've seen it before. Customers have had put compliances on something where we really didn't know if they needed to be on there. Through discussion with the customer, they realized we didn't need this, or this was the reason why we didn't need it. So something could be removed.
Made me laugh because there's a customer that Dawn was with one time, and we were going over a kind of a quarterly review, and there was some, I wouldn't say Dawn was aggressive in any way about the way that she challenged some of the numbers on there. And the customer came right back and was like, "Is this a negotiation?" and it was Dawn was like, "No, I just want you to know that this is what factored into that. And I want you guys to realize that as you're looking at those numbers." But there are things that don't necessarily serve a purpose and should be negotiated or can ultimately serve our customers better. And so you hit the nail on the head. You do a lot for our customers. You bring tons of value to Polo. So we appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast with us today. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.